Well, hello, and welcome to the return flight to Isla Grande from Culebra via the Tango Transition. Tango Transition basically requires that we fly to the Chaca intersection, which lies at the northeastern tip of the island, and then we fly essentially to the west to a large shopping mall called the Carolina Shopping Center, which is basically about 4 miles south of San Juan International. And then from there, we fly to the tower and out into the ocean to enter the pattern over at Isla Grande. Basically, three ways to navigate over to Chaca. One is visual, obviously, easy enough landmark to identify, as we will see when we get there. Secondly is through GPS, and we have gone ahead and put Chaca as a waypoint, and the HSI is indicating our course line to Chaca. And thirdly, if you look at the course line of where we are now in Culebra to Chaca, basically runs along Route 6, which is a 113 radial from the San Juan International VOR. And so once you get to Chaca, you will have 21 miles DME to the VOR. And so we're going to go ahead and set up the second VOR. We're going to go ahead and put it up 114.0, and we're going to be setting up the OBS on VOR number 2 down here to 293, which is a reciprocal of the 113 radial. And so it's going to be simple enough, just as we had with the river transition coming over. Not a terribly long flight, but some interesting things as we get going. So let's go ahead and taxi away from the ramp. And as we begin our taxi, we can see two things that stand out right away. The first is how visibly uphill the taxiway is. Again, confirming what we know about the runway, which has a slight downhill grade when we came in. And secondly is the hill that is at the end of the runway. The hill is about 500 feet, less than half a mile from the end of the runway, and is really what creates the complexity with the approach as we saw coming in. I have seen a couple of people in real life videos fly over that mountain and enter a very steep approach to come in here, but certainly it is not recommended. Most people will take the route that we took when we came in before. In any event, the runway, just to remind you, is 2,300 feet with a slight downhill grade and has some trees at the end of the runway, so I guess you can say it qualifies as a short field, certainly. And I hesitate to say much about that because, as I have said before, I'm not a flight instructor, I'm not an expert. I never actually flew into Culebra, and I haven't flown in many, many years. So I'm certainly not one to be telling you how to get in and out of this field. Plus, the Duke is not a particularly good short field airplane. If there were not an airplane that I like and we were not in the sim, I certainly would not. This would not be my choice in real life to go in and out of this airport. But in any event, we're going to do some of the things that we would expect out of a short field anyway. We're going to put some flaps, pumps, lights. We're going to hold the brakes, and we're going to advance the engines. Make sure that everything remains in the green. Make sure that everything remains in the green. And we're going to be looking for 99 knots, which is the best angle of climb speed for this airplane. And so here we go. As we get to this turnoff here, you can see pretty well that we're committed at this point. Whatever happens, we have to find a way of getting off the ground and over those trees. And so here we go. Rotate. Bring up the gear quickly to reduce drag. And now we can pitch down a little bit, pick up some speed. And we're past blue line and we're in good shape. And we're going to adjust the power here a little bit. We're going out through this little bay, and you see these little villas over on the left. As I said, I've not been there, but it sure looks like an inviting place to sit there, go to the beach, and watch the sunset every afternoon. Looks beautiful. Let's go ahead and turn now and start climbing to intercept our course line to Chaca. You see the waters, how beautiful they are here. Seen some videos about activities in Culebra, and everything from kayaking to scuba to fishing to swimming to everything you can imagine is a part of the life of the people who come here. The Tango Transition is to be flown at 2,000 feet, and so we're going to be climbing to 2,000 feet and fly the whole flight at that altitude. You see the course coming in. Less than half a mile now from our course. Excuse me. The VOR has already come in. Let's go ahead and set up DME for radio number 2. It says 39 miles, and we have 18 miles here to Chaca on the GPS, so that's a 21-mile difference. So that checks out with the chart. And let's go ahead and let's pay attention to what we're doing. 2,200, let's bring it back to 2,000 feet. Set our power. One last check and everything is where it's supposed to be. Okay, here we go. We're at 2,000 feet and we're coming up on our course line now. That's El Yunque, the rainforest mountain we talked about before. And as we fly by it at 2,000 feet, you will see that it is still in excess of 1,000 feet higher than we are. So you can see how that can become a problem if you're in IMC conditions and not paying attention to what you're doing. That basically was the case, that awful accident I talked about where the controller vectored the plane into the mountain. Both our GPS course and our VOR coincide, so that means we're right on Route 6 and about 12 and a half miles from Chaca, 33 miles from the San Juan VOR. I said before, this area here is very big area for boating, recreational boating. There's any number of marinas, including a couple of very large ones, that are all situated along that coast. Ten miles to Chaca. And as we get closer to that northeastern tip, where the lighthouse is, if you recall, you can begin to see why, when we did the river transition going the other way, why we wanted to stay a little bit out over the water. Because again, the traffic patterns are going in opposite directions, and so you want to give the people going east a little bit more space. This Chaca waypoint that we're going to is really the only radio navigation station that we're going to be using. Everything else in this transition, as it was with the river transition, is all done visually. O'clock, 11:30, you see that that's the old Conquistador Hotel. Long-standing hotel there at the top of a hill. That's the one with the mountain-type golf course on it. And it has a tram system, or at least it used to, that brought the guests down to the level of the beach. Miles to go. That's that Seven Seas area we talked about in the first flight. Our main navigation, once we get inland here, is, if you can see this blue line here, is a highway that winds around this corner of the island and goes out to just south of the airport. This highway in the chart is marked as highway number 3. I don't know if you can see it here. It is highway number 3, but it is more commonly known locally as 65th Infantry Highway. 65th Infantry, named after the famous regiment that fought very courageously at both World Wars and at the Korean War. Received many distinctions over the years, including the award of 4 Congressional Medal of Honor. I don't know if you can see a little strip just south of the shore there. That's the highway we're going to be following. It's going to go to that little tip, but it's going to go back inland again. So we're just aiming straight for where, you can see it over here. We're just going to aim where it starts going straight once it gets back inland. And that's going to be our main point of reference as we continue on the transition. You can already see San Juan on the right. It's not a very long trip. Many years ago, there was a lot of traffic, commercial traffic, and we'll talk about that in another flight. There was a lot of commercial traffic, people using Twin Beaches, Beach 18s, taking people back and forth from the islands. And again, there was a pretty terrible accident of a fellow co-pilot of one of those Beach 18s jostling with a door that didn't seem to close properly, and as he was trying to adjust it in the air, the door opened up and he fell out the airplane. And it happened right in this area over here. There you can see the highway number 3, 65th Infantry, straight ahead. A lot of commercial activity. You can see all the development around it. As we talked about before, many golf courses over here. You have Rio Mar, you have Cocoa Beach, where the Puerto Rico Open is played. You have a couple of private courses. Lots of activity in that area. DME says we're about 12 and a half miles from the VOR, so we're essentially 7-8 miles from the shopping center. You can see how we're following the road here on the GPS. A little bit over 2,000 feet, but I'd rather be a little high than a little low. As we get ready to turn towards the tower, remember that people coming in the opposite direction are going to be flying to the tower at 1,500. So you can be a little over 2,000, but not below. The moment we hit Chaca intersection, we would have called San Juan approach. They would have given us a squawk code, and they would have asked us to report at the shopping center up ahead. The moment we report at the shopping center, they're going to ask us to switch over to San Juan Tower and fly directly to the tower. As soon as we're overhead, San Juan Tower will ask us to switch over and talk to Isla Grande and enter the pattern over there. And you can begin to see the curve in Highway 3 over here. That's where we're going to be turning. The moment we make that turn and we come to about 4 miles DME, that's essentially where the shopping center is going to be. Now, they can see it already, but I'm sure it is probably more visible in real life than it is in the scenery, but I think I have it in sight. You can see how the road turns right over here. San Juan International, you can see on the right. Here, start our turn. And there's a shopping center at 1230 low. 4.5 miles, 4.4. So right about here, we're going to report over Carolina, and they will tell us to turn to the tower, which we will do now, and contact San Juan Tower. I'll stay at 2,000 feet or above. And the tower is straight ahead. Where people coming on the river transition will be going to the tower, 1,500, and flying between the runways over to the mouth of the river over there. Again, it's always difficult in the sim because we don't have side windows to know exactly where we are. But this is about where the tower is right now. They would ask us to contact the Isla Grande Tower, and we would begin little by little to descend. We're at 2,000 feet, and the pattern at Isla Grande is 1,000 feet. I'm going to get a little bit away from the shore to avoid the traffic coming along the shore. Actually, Isla Grande has 2 traffic patterns, not just one. As you will see in a moment, there's a little channel that goes parallel to the runway where you have some recreational and commercial boat traffic. It's very close to the runway, and typically a lot of the airplanes that are doing flight training, touch and goes, etc., will use the inside pattern. You can see it maybe on the left. You can see the runway there, and there's like a little channel there, and then the rest of it is just the island of Old San Juan, which is an island unto itself. And that inside pattern is flown at 600 feet. The outside pattern goes on the edge of the island of San Juan, of Old San Juan, and that pattern is flown at 1,000 feet. It's called the outside pattern. Normally the inside pattern is reserved for small airplanes. Although my instructor more than once got me in that inside pattern in a 310 when I was working on my multi-engine, to emphasize the need for proper speed management and controlling the airplane. It's a handful to fly a 310 in that inside pattern at 600 feet. See, all of this over here is the island of Old San Juan, which is connected to the main island by a couple of bridges. And right on the edge is El Morro Castle, which guards the entrance to the harbor in San Juan. And just as the ships come in through that entrance, that's where we're going to come in for the pattern. It is La Grande. Get one notch of flaps. We're at 1,000 feet. As I enter the pattern, I like to bring the props up and give me all the options for maneuvering if I have to. This over here, if you remember, is the West Shore, and that's where the Bacardi plant is located. Gas on the carriage mixture pumps. This is a San Juan Harbor here. You see a little channel I was talking about before. Right over that at 600 feet is the inside pattern. There we go. Apparently airplanes now park on both sides of the runway. But when I was flying, all the GA parking was over on the left side here. So that's where we will go. And just as you see some airplanes parked along the right side of the runway here, This indeed used to be used for parking as well when I was flying. Way back when we used to have a little de Havilland Chipmunk that we used to fly, that we used to park just on this side over here. There's a story about that, but I'll tell you about that some other time. Well, now we've completed the river transition going east and the Tango transition going west. So that's pretty well taken care of. Have a couple of interesting flights coming up, I think. Things that you will enjoy. Different locations, different scenarios. I hope you'll stick around for those. And let's go ahead and park just about where we left from. Again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you stick around for some of the future flights. We have some interesting things in store for you. Thanks again. Stay well. Bye-bye.